think they're back here,
Okay.
behind the trophy case. Behind the trophy case?
Yeah, that's way
Where you
back.
gotta
Keep
kind
going, way over in the corner.
of, there are odd spots.
There you go.
You guys are too familiar with this old building.
Yeah.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, well, Historical Society has them the other night.
Anything, any alterations to the agenda? Motion to approve is written.
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Public forum. Mr. Eads?
Nothing. Thank you.
All right, seeing none, moving on. Minutes of the May 23rd first. We tabled those, right?
Yes.
Motion we approve is written.
I'll second that.
Second. All those in favor? Now June 6th.
I think we need to make, on the call to order, I think we need to make it clear that we discussed John DeKinderen's participation, and it wasn't all agreed that he would recuse himself. I didn't think John was in agreement with that at all. But I think we should have say that we had a discussion regarding his attendance at the anticipated executive session, as Mr. DeKinderen was in the butter to Ranrack Trust. We decided that he should recuse himself from that executive session. I think that's how it went.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
I think the Board of Selectmen agreed.
I think Leah wanted that affirmatively stated as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly, could you repeat kind of,
think we
discuss regarding his attendance?
Discussion that ensued, from the word discussion, that ensued between the planning board member John DeKinderen and the Board of Selectmen regarding his attendance at the anticipated executive session, as Mr. DeKinderen is in the butter to Ranrack Trust property. Board of Selectmen agreed that Mr. DeKinderen should recuse himself from the executive session discussion.
Motion we approve as amended.
As amended.
Second?
Second. All those in favor?
I'll run a copy by you, once
Okay.
everything changes.
Okay.
Any board reports? Or assume like the same thing we
Same
had last
idea,
night?
yeah, so I could-
Anything else?
I'll get the next one.
Mr. Manager?
Yes, I have a few things. I'd like to just give you an update of where we are on the substation convenience. As I understand, the association has voted to agree to return the property back to the heirs of Ferdinand Gregoire. The issue then became how the deed should be written in terms of returning it over. From what I understand, Ken and Gregoire provided a order probate document indicating that Ken was executor over their will. I think I sent a copy to you.
Yeah, he was appointed person representing the estate of Norman Gregoire.
Right, and Norman was one of the signees of the
He
deed.
signed that deed just because years back, the spouse would have to sign the deed to release his or her spousal rights, descendant rights, so that's the only reason, but he didn't have any interest in the property. They need to find out who the heirs of
Ferdinand. I refer to Tom on that because Don's a little bit more astute in those areas than I. So it appears that the discussion will have to go between the association and the heirs to determine how the property will be reconveyed to the heirs. So I'll try to assist in any way I can to help move the process along.
So is it the heirs that need to drive that?
It seems to me, I mean,
Yeah.
I did a quick search out of curiosity, and Fernand died back in 1998, it looked like, at least. She has a estate probated, but you can't get online to find out who the heirs, named heirs were, because the records aren't online that far back, so. it's
So
not-
the issue is.
Then somebody just had to look in probate, and they'll find, all the heirs should be listed there if nobody, for some reason, doesn't know who they are.
Yeah.
But that's where you get, that's where we should, somebody ought to just produce that.
So it's a matter of just clarifying particularly that, and then I think the association will be done with their part of this. So it seems to be moving forward, a little slower, but I think we're gonna get there at some point in
Well, it's out of our hands now, right?
Correct. I think I'm looking more at just trying to be facilitating, make sure that the information and documents are transferring between all parties to ensure that it just doesn't stop, that we keep it moving. Just wanted to give you an update. I think I provided to you in your packet. Where we are with the utility safety TIF for the fire department. I met with the police chief last week. He's going to come in with 3 of the bids or the requests that they got back for the purchase of a brush truck. They seem to be running somewhere in the $115,000 range for these trucks. And then they were also looking at a 6x6 off-road vehicle with a trailer as part of the contingents of this funding. The issue I think that we're going to have is that I think at some point the board, if in fact we have a presentation in front of you to go ahead and purchase this truck, we're going to have to enter into some sort of lease agreement using the proceeds from the TIF fund in order to pay it off. I think we'll have a substantial down payment of around $56,000, and then we'll have to enter into some sort of agreement after we take a look at all their information that they're providing to us. So I guess that's good news. I'm happy that we're seeing some progress in terms of moving those purchases that were required by the TIF forward. So I'll keep you advised. As soon as I have the information, I'll provide it to you, and I'll have the chief and whoever other representatives from the department that are working on that here, so you can ask questions if you need to. And we'll go from there.
So this would be at least a purchase, right?
Yeah, I think we're probably looking, I think you have the authority. We have the money captured. We'll have a good down payment. We'll have about $26,000 a year coming in.
Yeah.
So there's enough money there to pay. It depends on how we want to frame it. Do we want to buy all up front, or buy the truck first and just go through a lease purchase on that? When that's done, we move on to the second thing. I'm waiting for the department to really, right now it seems like they want to try to capture it all at one time, but I haven't seen all the numbers yet.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, if we can capture all of that and make that payment from the TIF funds, then
Right.
that would be the way to go.
So anyway, that's where we are at this point. Just to give you an idea, as you know, the RFPs for withdrawal for the consultant as well as the attorney have gone out. I've received only one back at this point. They're not due until the 14th. So I think perhaps maybe a lot of these folks are waiting until the vote on Tuesday, whether or not they're going to submit their materials to us for consideration. So we'll have to wait and see what we get. But right now we have one attorney has provided to us, one law group. I haven't received anything else through the mail yet. Tonight I provided to you an update to your budget numbers with the packet that I set on your desk tonight. What I did is I just updated all of the expense detail up to June 8th in those reportings that I provided you. So you have up-to-date actual expenditures at this point. I also provided you a revenue sheet that is good up until today. Provides you where we are in terms of revenue, and that's part of that whole package. In terms of where we are with our overall budget, at this point during the year, we should be about 94% expended. The good news is we're at 91. So we're on the favorable side. It appears that we're going to not get to a point where we're going to be spending more than we were requested to spend. And I think at the end of the fiscal year, we'll have a little bit of money that will be able to go into the fund balance as a result of that. So I sent a notice out in May to the department heads, just reminding them that we're getting close to the end of the year and that we shouldn't have any big purchases coming close to the end here. And they've all been very good at watching their budgets and being very diligent about the money they have to spend. So at this point, I'm pretty confident. I was pretty surprised in the revenue. We surpassed our revenue projections that were provided for last year. So I'm really happy about that as well. So things seem to be moving okay.
Any specific account that stood out that we haven't, that's helping us for that 91%?
No, I think most of our department heads, some of the budgets were 89 or 88%. When I factored it all out, it ended up to be about 91 of expenditures spent. We had miscellaneous, or about 95, 96, because a lot of those were costs that people, some of our the social service agencies requested their money, so that money went out. So those are going to be very close to 100% expenditure on those, because those are allocated for a specific purpose. So, so far it looks good.
What's BETE reimbursement? What's that?
Business equipment tax reimbursement.
Well, that went up substantially, huh? From a
Yes.
revenue standpoint.
Yeah, they changed the formula, as I understand it, from the assessor. Those numbers that are there as anticipated revenue also from the assessor. I'm not sure, I think that, I don't think there's any more to say about the annual town meeting, obviously Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Unless there's any specifics, I think Gerwood Parkinson will be our moderator. He's done it before. I think, to me, it's a pretty straightforward budget. We'll see what we have when we get there, but we're about 54,000, a little over 1.7%. We will be providing handouts as we're in the arrow. They will be provided out back next to the town report, so in the event that people haven't had the opportunity to see some explanations pieces, they will be provided there as well, along with whatever information is been picked up. So I'm hopeful that folks will be well informed when they vote.
You had mentioned something about Article 21.
Yes, it may be something that you're going to want to contemplate. Right now, I received next year's proposed allocation from the sheriff's office. We had anticipated it was going to be $90,000 for patrol services. they came in around 80,000. So, you have an opportunity there if you so desire. In my view, I would recommend if you are going that way, you could reduce that to 85. That would give us enough flexibility to reduce it by $5,000 more dollars. Give us some flexibility in the event that Greg leaves, whatever, I don't think he's gonna leave, but if Greg leaves, they may have to put somebody else in there that may be slightly higher. So I would say to leave a little bit more there, but that's what I was thinking about. So give that some thought, and Wednesday I'll talk to you prior to the meeting to see if you folks wish to reduce that. If you do, you can make a motion in a second to reduce it.
I wrote it down.
Okay. And that was the only place that I saw that, so far, that we would have any adjustments to that nature at this point. Obviously, sometimes when we put those budgets together, they're so far in advance that we have to try to be as, as conservative as we can. But once we get a real number in our hands, I think it's prudent to give them the number that, as close as we can. Finally, I provided a report from Sebago Technics that came in late last week, just before I sent your packets out. Will Conway and I will be meeting this coming week. I'll reach out to Will probably tomorrow to see how he is on Thursday or Friday, and just discuss it with him. My hope is at some point at your next business meeting, we'll have Will come in and we can talk to him about his reporting, what he has determined on the 2 sites that we hired him to look at for us, and then whatever analysis that, or any other question that may be related to that. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it. I've looked at it very briefly, looked at the soils. It was pretty much, I don't think there were any surprises there. I think Phil had pretty much, and some of you had walked the town's piece on Route 1, so you had an idea of what that was like. And the other piece that we were looking at, I think we were well aware of what the soils may be there. So I think the report pretty well bears that out.
Yeah, we've been talking somewhere around 300, 350K more on that other site, and it looks like he came in at that.
It appears to be, and then if you add in the, if you go ahead and you end up recommending another site, you still have the cost associated with that other site perhaps, and still with that cost, it seems like it'll be fairly competitive. It's something for you to consider. I really like to have Will come in and go through the nuts and bolts of that, so when I look at the, and I'm sure Phil has some, if he hasn't taken a look at it, some of the costs that he's put in association with construction, I think some of those costs may be slightly high, and that's probably a good thing. At least it can guide us on the high side of the construction cost. So the cost may be down a little bit more, but I'd like to have Will in here, he can go over it with you. That's all I have under manager's report at this point.
This isn't public information, right? Because wouldn't that give,
I'm not quite sure. I provided it to you. I think it is. And if anybody wants to see it, I think we can provide it to them. And then we can have that discussion with Will. I think we're getting at a point now that, we're starting to focus in on some spots that we're looking at, and,
What are you afraid of?
well, doesn't that give, one landowner an edge over the other one on knowing that, hey, his property is maybe cheaper to develop than the other one, or vice versa, or?
I'm not sure. I don't think.
We're the owner of one.
I know that, but.
We're not a competitive disadvantage.
I think at the end of the day that it will give you the background information that you need in order to put your eggs into, as you had told me before, put your eggs into one of these baskets to present to the townspeople your thoughts of why you should go one site over another. And now you have some data to support that. So I think it's public.
That's it?
That's all I have on the
Anything
manager
else,
report.
any comments on any of that? Moving on, upcoming meetings, June, July, and August.
Yeah.
Where are we headed?
Well, right now, I think we're gonna be looking at the fire department as our primary location. I know that Linda Zook had reached out to me about perhaps using their conference room. She was out of town last week. She'd offered it. She said she'll contact me sometime this week and I'll go take a look at it. It may be something that, I've never been there. Somebody says it's kind of small, so it may not accommodate all that we have to do. But right now, primarily our location is the fire department. And if we have a large meeting, I think we're gonna have to really do some soul searching as to where that meeting will be. If it's gonna be at the fire station, we may have to move the fire trucks out in order to take over the station.
We've done that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that may be something, an alternative that we'll have to do in the event that we get caught. But generally speaking, the summers seem to be a little bit less attended.
Yeah, I think the fire station will be fine.
So I think the fire station may fit our needs.
Be in and out of there relatively quick, not much disruption.
All right, moving on. Duck Brook Culvert Project.
Yes, we have Roger and Steve Blake from the engineering firm is here this evening to talk with you all about the bids we received. I'll just give you some history of what we've done. This past week, we asked both Curtis Earthworks and Brex to come in and meet with Roger, Steve, and I. We also had Phil in attendance at that meeting to go over their project, their plans, how they were going to approach it. The reason we have taken that position is that Curtis Earthworks is a fairly new company. They were called Evergreen Landscaping before this, and they primarily were working for private companies doing landscaping, that kind of thing. And this is their first venture into the municipal construction or overall construction mode. Because they were a low bidder, I personally started out having some concerns, and I'm sure Roger can elaborate as well, because we've had some discussions here. They have a new company, they came in at low bid, but I was concerned that whether or not they had the equipment, the manpower, and the wherewithal to meet the time frame that we had in order for the project to be completed. So we met with Curtis. He indicated to us that he was going to associate himself with another company, Cantwell Construction, two smaller companies, and their attack of that project was going to be on both sides of the road, excavators, prepping the area, and then once the culvert was there, they would have a crane to set it, and they figured it was going to be about 13 hours to set the culvert. They felt very confidently that they could complete the project in a week and a half. I had people in the room that have been in the construction business for a very long time, which eyebrows were raised as a result of a week and a half. Doing some more conversation with other people, most people are saying 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks to get that project done. It won't be that long that the road will be closed. So I had some concerns about that. I had concerns about whether or not this company is really trying to bite off more than they could actually chew. We had Mark Brown from Brex also was the second bidder. Their bid is about almost $31,000 more. Mark came in with a clear plan of how he's going to attack this, a process that he had in place, a spreadsheet that how it was going to be done. Has done a lot of this work and felt very confident because of his location. He has a staging area less than a mile or approximately a mile from the location that he'd be able to to get there, to get this project done, and that we'd be happy with it. So I think where there were some real questions of whether Curtis was biting off more than they could chew. And there are other people that were at the meeting, and I'll let them weigh in on their thoughts as they met with Nick Curtis. Young guy, seemed very, very aggressive, really wanted to try to do a good job for us. I'm just not sure whether he's got the wherewithal and the expertise in order to accomplish it.
First off, I would have told him the good news, is that Steve and his company prepped the grant for us to the DEP, and we have been chosen. We're getting $95,000 for that project.
Oh,
So, that's not bad.
Nice
Yeah.
job.
It has to go to engineering though? or-
No, we can go towards construction as well. Originally, they said it would be engineering.
That's my PhD in
No,
I know, I mean, part of it could be used for it, but that's certainly a lot more than engineering.
That's good to hear, Steve.
One of the concerns we had, obviously, was the time frame. We were told by one contractor that this thing would be a day and a half, that the road would actually be closed. You know, I don't see how that's possible. I mean, it's just physically too much material to move to an area. His staging area is not as close as the second bid. Trucking was a concern. They're moving the material from Pike and Wells, basically, to that site. There's just a lot of what-ifs that I understand $31,000 is a steep price to leave on the table. Firm believer right now would be the best money ever spent. There's just too many questions. One of them was the fact that one of the questions that was asked, have you ever done any similar work? And they've done one other large culvert. It was on private property and there was no traffic, no roadway there. They really haven't done that, this magnitude of a job with a lot of experience. The number 2 guy has done all kinds of.
So aside from the fact that, let's say they would have said, well, when did Brex come in how many weeks, 4 weeks?
Well, they're telling us that their actual time is 2 to 3 weeks for the closure. Another long day would set the pipe, but he told us exactly what day they were looking at it, and it was August 2nd. That thing would be, the crane was scheduled, they'd be lowering it in there. They had a precise schedule as to when it would be done.
So if Curtis would have came in and basically gave you that same time frame, I know there's a certain concern about, geez, they only said a week and a half, but if they'd have come in and said, this is a full-week project, I mean, would there still be some concerns? I mean, I know you talked about this is the first time, but we're sticking on that week and a half, okay, so what if it takes them 3 weeks? I guess the key is the quality of work, right? I mean, is the work right? And if that's a heartburn, then certainly we.
Quite frankly, we didn't know a week and a half until the Wednesday meeting, when he mentioned it. My concerns in the beginning was that it was a new company, and they had, all my research, I'd spoken to a bunch of people that I knew, spoke very highly of Nick Curtis and what he did as a landscaper, and didn't have a lot to say about him in the construction business because he's new to it.
Yeah.
So that to me, just, not a red flag, but it just gave me some concerns as to whether or not he was the most capable company to provide this service for us, even though they were low bid. And that was why I was concerned about it.
Rod, so there's a $30,000 difference. Why is it showing that this Curtis guy can buy the same exact box culvert for $20,000 cheaper than Brex?
Just the markup.
Yeah?
There's some as far as the high bids, and one of them, I know it was coming from the same place.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even pan all the way right, yeah,
Yeah.
237,000 for the same,
For something that they're really not gonna have to touch until they put it in the hole,
yeah.
till the crane hooks it.
So it's the same culvert?
It's coming from the same place.
Wow.
Yeah, that's to meet the specs.
Yeah.
It's gotta be the same culvert.
That's twice the money.
So, you know, I'm sure Phil has some comments before you render some sort of decision here, but ultimately it's going to be your decision of what direction you're going.
Well, I've done a little bit of work on the site plan for that project. And if we were to award that bid at $170,000, this young fellow would come very close to going out of business. Because there's 80% of that, maybe 85% of that 170 is cost of material. So if he's gonna work 3 weeks for $10,000 or $12,000 with supposedly 2 excavators and some trucks to bring material in, he's gonna be hurt, we're gonna hurt him bad. And I've seen tons and tons of work that Brex does. They do quality work, they meet schedules, and when they put in a price, regardless, good, bad, or otherwise, they stick to it, and they do a really good job.
We got a little over 130,000 just in material.
Yes, more than that.
Yeah, 132, 130.
I came up with about 150 or 55 in material. And that's with no markup on the culvert. And the actual cost of the culvert is less, there's not a lot of markup there. And with the work I've done, looking at the site plan and talking to this new guy Curtis, talking to Mark at the meeting and the presentations that I saw, I would make a motion that we go with the $201,264 with Brex Corporation to do the box culvert.
Now, out of that, we will end up getting back 95,000.
Yes, we'll be receiving 95,000 after the paperwork comes and that'll come in.
And we were gonna bond this, right? No, we weren't.
Not,
No, it's,
I was talking about it, was too
Yeah.
late.
This is right out of the,
Right out of Roger's budget.
what this does is, you know, I think when we first started talking about it, we thought it was gonna be well over $300,000 to do this project.
yeah.
And now we're into a substantially less than that. I know Roger's looking at doing some paving on a few streets as a result of the good price, whether it's Brex or whether it's Curtis. And we're gonna be able to get some paving done too as well this year, which is pretty exciting.
Well, I think based on the information from Roger and based on Phil's motion, I'll second that.
Any more discussion on this? Motion's been made, seconded. All those in favor of awarding it to Brex Corp? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve, for the help with the grant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
my pleasure. Glad you got it.
Still a little much.
Just keep your pencil sharp, that's all we care about.
One of the concerns you might want to consider is the fact that if you have somebody there, if you had chosen another contractor, he would be spending much more time than possibly. So some of the difference he may get back in that, because he would spend a lot of time there, there'd be more inspections. Obviously, fees would be more. So it's not truly a 30,000, whatever it is.
Well, you know, I mean, it's nice to give somebody new an opportunity, but we certainly don't wanna do it at our expense and have something that we
My
have to redo
biggest
all over again.
concern is the fact of doing similar jobs,
Yeah.
and they're starting coming.
My concern is Field Express. I mean, we have an obligation to make sure that the project gets done and that road gets opened up. And if somebody runs out of money, then we're in real hurt.
It's turning into nightmares.
Yeah. Insurance and bonding's another thing, and we have to make sure we've got a company that has all their insurance policies, all the bonding, everything that they need.
You know, and a lot of the jobs we're doing now, we're being required to come in with a $5 million insurance. We always carried $2 million. In the last year or two, they've been pushing us to $5 million. This young Mr. Curtis, he's gotta hire another company to work with him. There's no money, we had to pay another company.
Well, good work on that anyways.
I need a motion for payroll.
So,
Second.
All those in favor? Any other business? Oh, we had some.
Think so. Yeah, it's hot.
You're gonna be busy all week anyway.
Should we vote tomorrow? Everybody vote.
We'd have to rent a company. And
Seeing none. Mr. Lewis, you have something to add to this whole evening?
Why shall we make a motion?
second.
All those in favor?
Jack,